Okay, for a bathroom vanity countertop, this is a custom size countertop. This is your typical Lowe's, Home Depot countertop. This is a spare leftover part that I have from a previous job. This is the factory edge. It has the little bumper sticker, so I'm gonna go up for this when I pull my measurements. Here's the measurements that I need. It has a backsplash. This thing is 25 by 22 3/4, and this comes 25 1/2. So first thing we're gonna do, as you can see, has this part here which raises it up. So the first cut I'm gonna do is on a table saw this way, and I need 22 3/4, but I'm gonna make it at 23 1/4, and because of how it's sitting, when the saw cuts it, it's gonna cut it on an angle. So my first cut is the rough cut, then I'll flip it around and cut the actual size that I need. Here's the table saw. Push it up. First cut is going to be 23 1/4. That measurement, your first cut, you don't want to cut on the seam or over here, so you just want to make sure you have at least 20, or the max 23 1/2. So I set my saw up, and then I'm going to run it. Take this off, one of these. This will be my first cut. That's that. This piece we're gonna save and use it. Now I take this, flip it over. Now I'm gonna put this to where it needs to be, 22 3/4. Now I run it this way, and this will make that edge straight up and down. That's that. Now we're going to cut it to 25. You always want to put the factory edge on the fence. So this is my factory edge. I'm going to put this on this side of the fence. Put this down to 25. Now when I make this cut, you could put tape on it, masking tape, then make your cut, or you'll have little chips like this. But this edge is going to get covered with a backsplash, so it doesn't bother me. But again, you turn it around, factory edge, and make it cut. Okay, now this is the actual size of the counter we need. Now this gets a 19-inch round bathroom sink, and it's to the center of it, it's 12 3/4. So it's from this side, from right to left, it's going to be 12 3/4. Now all counters they're going to be different. The center mark is going to be different. You gotta go out in the field and measure it. And how you get your center mark, say this is the vanity, this is the counter, you measure the middle of the doors, between the two doors. Or if it's just one, you got to get the center mark. Then you get that's how you get your center mark. So here's my mark here. Now I'm going to use a framing square. Butt it up square with this, flat. Put my mark. Here's my center mark. Now my sink hole is going to be over here somewhere. Okay, now to cut this part, this is how we're going to do this. Set this down. You're going to get a piece of scrap wood the same thickness as this. Right now I have this, so I'm going to, same thickness, I'm going to nail it. When I run it through the saw, when you run it through the saw, you want to cut like right here, right on this side of that little curve, right along here. That's where you want to cut it at on the table saw. But again, you can't set it like this on the table saw and run it through. This is where you're gonna want to attach a piece like this to keep it straight. Put a couple nails in it to hold this in place. Then you run it through your saw. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna nail this right here like that. No glue or nothing, just two temporary nails that I'm gonna take back off later. Here I got little 1-inch nails so that it don't go all the way through and make a hole on the other side. So now I have this. Make sure the height is good. And the saw is good. Bring the guide over. So that's about where you want to cut it right there. Then you lock the fence down. Alright, then you turn the saw and run it through. And that piece of wood that you put under here helps. This piece of wood helps keep it from going like this. Run it through the saw. There's your piece. Just the scrap. Now, to attach this right here, see you gotta cut it. It's the same length, which was 25. Now for this, you cut it on the saw. I'm gonna use this, slide that in here. Set to 0, it's locked in place. Factory edge on this side. You're gonna hold this, right, that's up against the fence, turn the saw on, and slowly slide it through to make that cut. Keeping 2 hands on this thing. I can't do it with 1 hand on my phone, so. Okay, now with this, it maxes out right here because of how this table saw is set up, but you're still able to make the cut complete. Just keep your hand on here. Stops. The other hand, turn it off and let that come to a complete stop before you remove your hand and take this piece out. There's a straight cut. Check it on here. Check the edge to edge. Perfect. This is where this piece goes. Just slide it out, in and out. Okay, now you want to attach this part to this. So you take your speed square, set that down, butt it up against there. Sure it's flush. That. And you put your mark. This side, same way. You got your marks. That gives you your reference marks when you go to put this in on where to put this, where to screw this onto. Now you want to do the same thing, flip this around and do the same thing. Okay, but now on this side you want to finish the line. Straight edge. Okay, now this is where you want to put your screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come to the drill press. Here's where we keep bits. I got the 1/8, and then the countersink head. Countersink bit in. Put the hole. I already did these. Yeah, I put my mark. Now you want to take caulk gun. We don't have almond right now, but being that this counter has a little bit of brown, we can get away with the brown. And you want to put it on the other side of the line. Okay, now you want your quick release clamps, and those are kept right there on that wall. Take this, line it up where that mark is. Make sure your edge is flushed on this side. Have your drill ready and put your, set it up like that. Now when you tighten this, this part right here is going to want to turn, so just keep your hand on it. It's basically just to keep it from raising up when you put your screw, so you don't want to put it too tight. And you just check your edge right here. Man, this sucks. Check that edge right there. Make sure this is flushed right here, and then put your screw, drive your screw in with your drill, while at the same time keeping your hand on it from keeping this part from moving, raising up. Okay, so I drove one screw in. This is still flush pretty good. This is lined up with this. Now I'm gonna do this side. See, I drove the screw in. And this is where those reference marks come in handy. So I know the screw went into this. Now I'm gonna do this side with the clamp. Okay, now I got that screw in. Now I can do the rest. Now I'm gonna clean the caulk with wet rag. Okay, and this is how I like the edge to look. If water does get in here, the caulk will keep it from going in there and swelling up the wood. This MDF board. All right, so now we get to cut the hole out. For that, turn it around. Okay, this is our center mark. Remember we did that. Now I have this, but you can use anything, a piece of wood. Now our hole needs to be 18. So I put a hole here and measured half of 18. I have my mark here. This is a jig I already made. This jig keep right here screwed in the panel right here. Okay, and now for your circle, again the sink is 19 inches, but the hole needs to be 18. So I already figured out the center mark of this, but this line here is the back of the backsplash. So you want to go at least 3/4. So when you set this up, put your pencil through here. This is the 3/4 mark. So the overhang will be right here, and you want just a little space between the backsplash and your sink. You don't want your sink right up on the backsplash. So 3/4 is fine. Set your screw right there. Hold it, and then test it out. Looks like you're still clear. From there to there is where your overhang for the sink is going to be, and you got from here to here that you can't have the overhang of the sink reached up to this. It has to be over here somewhere. So it looks like we're going, that spot is a good spot. My 3/4 mark here, my pencil is. Stretch it out. Screw right there. You can drill it or you can tap it in. And then make your circle. Okay, that's your circle. 3/4. Back to the drill press. Get your paddle bit. Anyone's good. 1/2 inch. And you drill. I like to drill where this edge is right here. So it'll be like that. That's where I'm gonna drill my hole. Now when you do this, do not go all the way through. Because if you go all the way through, it'll blow out the formica on the other side. So there's a little hole. Flip it around, and then you finish it. There's your hole. Now we use jigsaw. Made my cut, made as far as I could without cutting into the table. Now just reposition this. Cut again to reach about right here so you don't cut into the table. But here's where it gets hard because the base of the jigsaw is going to start hitting this. So you have to, as you cut in the corner, you got to hold it up like this, and then lift up the back. Next thing you know, the base of this is going to sit on this. And you just got to work, you got to lift it up, cut, let the base sit on this, then you got to bring it down, cut, and then let the base sit back on the counter. And that's that. Okay, the next thing is to attach pieces of wood to the sides, and this will give you something to screw to, and also it raises up the countertop to this level so the counter won't be sitting like this on the counter. It'll keep it straight. For this, you're gonna line it up. This is just about 2.5, 3 inches, and 5/8 plywood. It's about 5/8, so you want to use a piece of 5/8. Put it here, mark it, cut it. Okay, let's cut the size, glue it up. Nail gun, 1-inch nails. When you do this, you want to make sure this is flush. Go down, make sure it's flushed. Working your way down. Sometimes it doesn't want to be flush. You just got to push down and use force to move it over. Then you got to hold it and then nail it. Then you just put a lot of nails. Same for the other side. Okay, and that's what it's looking like. Now this temporary piece we put here gotta come off. I just used this, pried it off. Now we need to fill this void here. You'll see why later. Wood cut already, some glue. Same for the other side. Okay, that's how it should look. Flip this around. Now we get the belt sander and sand the edges. Make sure it's nice and smooth. But also remember, this side gets a backsplash, so we don't have to sand this side, only this side. And this is our factory edge, so you shouldn't do too much sanding. It should be pretty much flush. Our edge kit and backsplashes. Well, these are called counter and splash kit. These are called end cap kits. This is about $20. Same with this. Now these are the pieces that come with the end cap kits, but I don't really use these. They want you to use these for this part. They're supposed to use these like that to take the place of this, but this is not wide enough. Yeah, you can use it, but I like to use this because sometimes the cabinet doesn't sit right here. Sometimes it just overhangs from the cabinet about 1 inch, sometimes 2 inches. So if this is over here and your cabinet falls here, your countertop's gonna sit like that. So that's why I just disregard these and go with these. I use these for if I'm doing a larger countertop. I'll utilize these. So here's the belt sander. It's kept down there. I'm not sure what grit this is, but I'm gonna just do a quick pass over here. Make sure it's nice and smoothed out. I feel a little lip right here, so I'm gonna concentrate over here when I sand it. Okay, now here's a little trick. When you're holding the belt sander and you pushing on it, this is gonna want to slide. So what I do is I'll let this hang over the edge and the table, keep it from moving, so then you can use that. Okay, now that you sand it, now you want to blow all the dust off. That'll help the glue stick. Okay, down here is where we keep the heat gun. Heat gun down there. Now to put the end cap, you're gonna need the mallet and the heat gun. Okay, and this is how it's gonna sit. Remember, this is a custom cut, so this is gonna be way longer. So when you put it on, you're gonna put it on like this, tap it. This has glue on it, and as you heat it up, the glue loosens up so you can stick it. Put your heat gun. Let you see what happens with the glue. See how it changes color a little bit. Starts getting shiny. That's ready to get stuck. Do this evenly. See, this is heated that up first so you can see how it's kind of shiny. So the rest got to get like that before you put it on. And once it's like this, once it's like that, then you put it on there, put it on the counter, and you tap it with the mallet. They say you can use a flat iron, like the iron clothes. You can use that. Okay, now when you're tapping this, you gotta be careful that you don't hit it too close to the edge, because you'll snap it off. You want to keep it flat. Now this, to cut this off, the extra piece, see how it's overhanging? You're gonna use the router. Make sure it has this bit on there. And that needs to be sticking out about that much. Now this, you're gonna do, set it like that, run it across. Now this ball here rides along the edge counter, but also likes to burn it, so you need some kind of lubricant. This is regular car grease. Run it along the edge to move it up. And you want to go all the way around with the router. Now you want to sand the edge off. This is real sharp. You can go like that and cut yourself. Get your sanding block, keep it right here. Just sand the edge off real quick. Sand it all the way around. Okay, now this is the splash kit. As you can see, completely overhangs. So, I'm gonna push it off the edge, push it all the way back. Then close that gap. Put your pencil mark. To the edge of this, that's where you want to cut it. Now you use the jigsaw. This is usually kept over here with the small thin blade. Okay, there's the cut. when we install this, then we'll install this after this part is installed in the unit. So now this is done, set it to the side. Now I gotta clean this edge too, take the grease off. For that we use our rag. Okay, now it's time to put the sink in. Sinks are in those boxes right there. There's the little jig thing we're gonna use to set it up, and over here is where the faucet is. Here's the jig, here's the top of it. You're gonna put screws from under. This is the same as the counter. You'll put it under it to help to hold it. Now when you set this in place, you want to make sure that your hole doesn't fall here. You want it to be clear. So when you drop your sink in, you don't want it to be like that. So just make sure you clear the sides. Okay, now you put some screws. 1, 2 screws, 1.25 inches. They're screwed in. Now you don't gotta worry about it coming apart. Okay, this is what your sink look like. Came out of that box. This is hardware kit. Set it in place, see how it fit. Okay, so the hole should have been a little bit bigger because my sink ain't going down all the way. So set it in place. I'm gonna see which ones is hitting and mark it. These are my marks. So I know it's time to redo that jig, huh? And all I'm gonna do is just use the jigsaw and just cut that out right there. Cut it there and right there. You see how I notched it out. Don't have to be pretty. Boom. Now this is the hardware. Now how this goes on. This sits on this like this. And when you put the screw in, the screw picks up on this like that as you tighten it. You don't want to over tighten it, because if you over tighten it, the porcelain will chip off. I'll show you an example. That's what happens if you over tighten it. But this one I believe was hit, became ship damaged. So when this got hit, it moved the porcelain and it chipped it off. But that'll happen the same thing if you over tighten it. So you just want to snug it. So now you just want to set these up, get these ready. Okay, and this is how you want these to look. So when you put it on, be like that. Now for here, I like to put a bead of caulk all the way around. So if somebody spilled water on this and it happens to go under the sink, it doesn't reach the MDF board and swells it up. So right now I'm gonna just put a bead of caulk all around. Okay, now when you put your caulk, you want it close to the edge as possible. And make sure you don't leave no gaps. Caulk all around, no gaps. Now you throw your sink in. Put your sink in, make sure it's straight. You know, you gotta turn it, adjust it as you can, best you can. That looks good. Okay, now you put these on. Just put it on, just push it all the way up, and then you tighten these. But again, do not over tighten it, you just want it snug so that this won't be moving or can get lifted up. Do that for all of them. As you tighten it, you can push down on this and then hand tighten it. And then you probably want to do maybe a quarter turn with the screwdriver. Okay, and that's how it should look. Now if you want, you can put a white caulk along here. That'll give another layer of protection, but I kind of don't think it's needed. The faucet is over there. what this looks like. Get your drain set up. This goes in there like this. See this part here? That's the front. And then it has just an edge to it that goes up like so. This in here. Then you're gonna use these. This is what's in this pack. This and this, save for later. This is what you're gonna use. And this right here. This is how you use this. You tighten this up. Put that on just hand tight. Don't tighten it. This sit in there like that. Sit in there like that. Then you take a screwdriver, stick it all the way in, and then you can tighten it. Okay, you have these hand tightened. Then you want to make sure this is straight. Okay, I'll set it down. Then you can adjust it. Make sure it's nice and straight. When you want it, now you tighten it up from the bottom. Okay, now this you want it tight because you do not want to come back and get under the sink when it's the living and there's a bunch of stuff around and just a pain in the butt. But I think this is a 1.5 inch PVC pipe. I just drilled a hole, made an X, and that's it. Okay, now for the drain. Got some plumber's putty, Teflon tape. Here's your pieces. Here's my plumber's putty. This thing is like clay. You just make a string out of it. Move this from here. Push this down all the way. Move your gasket down. Take the plumber's putty. Wrap it around this. That's how you want this thing to look. Unscrew this. Set that to the side. And you put this in. Black gasket goes first. And then the round part is for the ball. So you put the round parts facing you. Now I like to put Teflon tape around here. You don't have to, but I like doing it. Just like that. And you stick this in the hole. Push down on it. Make sure it's seated in there good. Then take this, screw it in. Turn this around. Now you gotta try to screw that back onto that part. Okay, so I screwed this on and I screwed it as far as it's gonna go, but you see it's still loose. So now I want to make sure this is facing the back. Then I can take Push my washer up snug and start tightening this up. You're gonna need some channel locks, which is in there. Okay, so now like I said, when you start tightening this up, make sure this is lined up straight, because when you go to put your stopper, this part that you push up and down, it has to line up with this right here. Alright, now this is gonna go in here. Squeeze this. It comes out. Put that in. Oh, but before you put that in there, see how this sits in there? This has to go in here. And this is what makes this thing go up and down. So you want to put this in with this part facing the back. See what that looks like. See it in there. Right. Now put this in there. Tighten that. Again, this don't have to be too tight, because then this is going to be hard to move up and down. Hand tight is good. Now as you move that up and down, let's see. Okay, now we stick this part here. It's this. Unloosen this. Then this part will go in here, and then one of these holes, usually is the second one, will go in here. This goes on first. Well, this goes on first, and you leave it loose, and then you install this hole, and then the other end of this. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, this is how that should look. This is in, it's not tight. Then this is how this sitting there. This remote, play with it up and down. Now what I like to do is push it all the way down. See how high this is. Decent height right there. Now tighten this bolt up. There, now this is ready for install. See how that works. Okay, clean out the access plumber's putty. I like to put these here and get some masking tape, which you normally keep right there. And stick it on here and leave it. Now that's ready for transport, and take it to the unit. Remove the old one, put the new one in.